Hi, everybody. It's Sarah again. So now we're going to look at speaking. So if you're going to do a training session on speaking, then this is definitely the video for you. All right. So when we start our training session, we want to get an idea of the teacher's beliefs and how the teachers currently teach speaking, right? Speaking skills. So we should start by asking them some questions. For example, why is teaching speaking important for your students? What does it mean to teach speaking? And what is important to consider when teaching speaking, okay? And we would have them do this in pairs, give them lots of time to speak. And as a trainer, you would be monitoring them, listening to what they say, maybe guiding them a little bit as well, okay? Of course, teaching speaking is very important for our students. It's how they learn how to communicate. Without being able to speak, then we can't say that we know a language, right? Teaching speaking would mean giving them tasks and activities which would allow this communication to happen. It means there's a focus on fluency, of course. So we need to give our students tasks which allow them to communicate at length and in a meaningful and personalized way, okay? And what is important to consider? Well, we're going to see that on the next slide. So, after your trainees, your teachers have discussed this, then we need to give them a little bit of feedback, right? And if you remember, my feedback was here. So we said that speaking is important because it's how we communicate. It's about fluency, not accuracy. We said that it's difficult for our students. So this is something that we need to think about when we teach. It's in real time, it's spontaneous, it involves lots of different things, and it needs quite a lot of confidence from the students, right? Especially if they are in really big classes. We also said that we should make our speaking lessons fun, engaging, meaningful, personalized, communicative. This will encourage the students to participate. It will be memorable to them. It will help scaffold them as well. We also said that we don't interrupt. So this is important for your teachers to know. We give delayed feedback or cold feedback. So teachers need to know that when they are monitoring a speaking task, they don't interrupt, okay? We need to show them how we might do feedback. And also, if we speak in the student's mother tongue, then our students will. So this is also important for our teachers to know as well, that they should be speaking in English in the classroom. All right. So now we've got our teachers thinking a little bit about speaking, thinking about their own practice, and thinking about these guidelines, which you can see on my screen. Let's get them to participate in a few speaking tasks, okay? Maybe you want to try doing 3 or 4 speaking tasks with your teachers so they can get a variety. But remember, before we demo anything, we need to give them something to think about as teachers. And if you remember, I asked you to complete this table. So you have to put in the speaking activity name here, what the students do, and what the feedback was. Now, this one is important because it means that when we demo the activity with our teachers, we also need to give them feedback as well so that they can see how this is done. We've got to set up this task before we start the demo activities, okay? And it's a good idea to have this table on the handout. Maybe instead of 8 activities, you could try maybe 3 or maybe 4. Okay, so give them this as a handout. And then we go into the demonstration. Okay, for example, this one is draw something that. And remember, I started by drawing something on my board, you can do this as well. So I started drawing and the students had to guess what I was drawing. Okay. When they've guessed, you can ask them, why did I draw this? Why did I draw a cat? They can make guesses. You could say, cats make me happy. Okay. My cat makes me happy. Now, draw something that you love to do at the weekends, you love to eat, you want to achieve, you'd like to learn, and you have to do every day. And give them time to draw a picture for each of these prompts, okay? Give them time to do this. Remember to check your instructions with ICQs because we are modeling best practice to our teachers and they need to know how to do this. All right. And then get them working in pairs. They show each other the drawings that they made and they guess. So the bicycle, this is something you love to do at the weekends. All right. After they've shared and after they've guessed, then you would have to give them feedback, okay? For example, Aisha too, what did you draw here for what you love to do at the weekends? Ah, you drew a bicycle. So who else likes riding a bike at the weekends? Okay, so this is feedback on content. And then you might do some error correction that you've collected as you've been monitoring the students in pairs, okay? And it's important to correct this so that the teachers know how to do it. You then return to this page, the speaking activities. You can give the speaking activity a name. For example, draw something that. You can elicit then from the trainees, the teachers, what the students did. So they drew something and then they had to share what they drew and their partner had to guess why they drew it. And then what the feedback was. And remember, this is always on content and then on language, okay? So this is something that you would do. You would repeat this with other activities, for example, with the shoe. Remember, I showed you my shoe and then you asked me some questions about my shoes, okay? And then they did that with their partner. So you might do this. You give them feedback on content, feedback on language, and then, of course, you return them to this table. They write down the speaking activity name, they write down what the students did and what the feedback was. So it's important that after every demonstration, you give them a feedback task to do, a reflection task to do, okay? And you're guiding them as you do this. Then, when we finished our 3 or 4 demonstrations, we could ask our trainees, our teachers, to speak together about these questions. What do they all have in common? Are they engaging? How does the teacher help scaffold? If you think your students need some language before the speaking activity, what can you do and can they be adapted? So give them lots and lots and lots of time to discuss these with their partner, okay? And of course, we might decide to do a little bit of feedback, a little bit of reflection on feedback. So what are the 2 types of feedback, content and language, and ask them what's the difference and what kind of language did, not Sarah, but did the trainer do? Okay. This is really important. And then we need to remind them that content feedback comes first before language feedback, okay? And finally, we could maybe give them some problems, teacher problems. We had 3 in our session and get them to think of some solutions to these teacher problems. And of course, they would do this in groups and we would be guiding them as they went along, okay? So you need to make sure that before you demo any of the activities, you give them the task to do. And after you've finished all the demos, that we have some reflection questions. We reflect on feedback and perhaps we give them a few teacher problems as well.